this past June, 4 of our members traveled off to Rochester to attend the district conference for WRJ. It was a great weekend. We had a lot of fun, and we brought back some great ideas. And one of those ideas was to create these birthing kits. And I'm proud to say that some of our members have decided to take on the challenge of putting this together. And this is our social action project for the year. So I invite Ellen Roloff and Melissa Lefkowitz to come up and tell you all about it.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Melissa Lefkowitz. I grew up here at Temple Society of Concord from the time I was a young child. I attended Sunday school and Hebrew school, reluctantly at times, I will admit. And it was on this very bima that I read from the Torah and chanted my Haftorah as a bat mitzvah, entering into Jewish adulthood. Now that I am an actual adult, happily married with 2 young children of my own, Joshua and Jacob, I am so grateful to still call Temple Concord home. As Jennifer just said, last June, Jennifer Satterley, Fran Walensky, Adrienne LeBlanc, and I attended the Northeast Regional Conference for the Women of Reform Judaism in Rochester, New York. Among the many valuable experiences and memories, one important message that we took home is the important role that we have as Jews to help those in need, not only in our own local community, but worldwide as well. Sometimes it seems that the need for existence is everywhere we turn. But how do we choose where to start? How do we choose who, what, and where to focus our efforts? Thankfully, the Jewish people have been given a tremendous gift from God, something that can guide us and help us answer those difficult questions. God chose to bless us with Torah, and we can choose to use it as a guide, as a source to guide us in the right direction. The Torah speaks to the role that Jewish women have assumed as midwives, assisting others during the shared blessing, though at times complicated and painful, burden of childbirth. Ellen Roloff will provide some insight into this as it relates to a passionate new undertaking that the sisterhood has begun.
From Exodus chapter 1, verses 20 to 21, God bestowed goodness upon the midwives, and the people multiplied and became very strong. It was because the midwives feared God that he made houses for them. Excuse me. The houses God made for Shiphrah and Puah were their legacy, because their actions prevented many Jewish baby boys from being killed by the Pharaoh. Shiphrah and Puah, many believe these were pseudonyms for Jochebed and her daughter Miriam, were midwives that lived at the time the Jews were ruled by the Pharaoh of Egypt. The word Shiphrah comes from the Hebrew word that means to beautify or to swaddle. Puah derives from the Hebrew word meaning cry or coo. A midwife's job is to encourage a birthing mother to let go and allow the baby to enter the world. Judaism teaches that birth is godly in nature. Shiphrah and Puah's trade was recorded in the Torah portion, Shemot. Pharaoh's astrologers predicted, correctly as it turned out, that a Jewish male would rise up and take his throne. So he tried to kill the Jewish men by subjecting them to arduous and grueling labor. When that didn't work, he decreed that all the newborn Jewish male babies should be killed. However, Shiphrah and Puah, being very righteous women, defied his law and became God's partners in creation. They were courageous women because they risked being killed themselves for not carrying out Pharaoh's orders. It's not clear in the Torah if the midwives were Hebrew or of Egyptian descent, but when Pharaoh heard about the 2 midwives' defiance of his decree, he summoned them and asked why they weren't doing what they were told to do. They reported to him that Jewish women are experts at childbirth, and by the time they got to the homes, they had already given birth. They could not, of course, kill the babies at that point, because the mothers would have figured out they were agents of Pharaoh. They told Pharaoh that future pregnant women would then give Shiphrah and Puah later due dates, so the midwives would arrive too late to attend the births. So they convinced Pharaoh to allow them to continue their godly work. History is rife with stories of people who acted on orders from authority figures without thought for the consequences for humanity. Certainly, the Nazis' blind following of Hitler's orders is an example of this. However, some people, like Shifra and Pua, take chances and resist the decrees of madmen and save an entire people. They stood for what was morally correct and acted only as God had required them to. The Talmud states, in reward for the righteous women of that generation, our ancestors were redeemed from Egypt. The midwives, Shifra and Pua, were two of the women in that generation. We can then thank these brave spiritual women for helping Jewish women go on to produce many Jewish children and ensure the survival of the Jewish people.
Thank you, Ellen. So as the Torah guides us, the women of Reform Judaism, and calls upon us to help each other. After all, women have been experiencing childbirth since the time of Garden of Eden, when Eve ate from the forbidden fruit. For ignoring God's word and giving in to her temptation and ate the fruit from the For ignoring God's word and giving in as she was tempted to eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge, Adam and Eve were banished from Eden. They looked at each other and knew the embarrassment of being nude. Man and woman became vulnerable. God also decreed that from then on, as Eve was the one to first betray God, women would bear the burden of childbirth, experiencing painful labor when bringing forth life into the world. While I can attest to the pain part, after giving birth to my two little boys, there is a part of me that can see God's mercy in that punishment. Yes, women must endure the most excruciating pain they may ever experience, but I don't know a single woman that wouldn't want to accept that pain as the end result brings us greater joy than anything else on earth. When we hold our baby in our arms, we forget the pain and we see God's presence and know his mercy. That's how it should be. A woman goes through labor, delivers a healthy child, and we celebrate the occasion. Sadly, that's not how things always happen. Even in the U.S., where women almost universally are guaranteed the right to receive medical care during pregnancy and childbirth, especially when complications and emergencies arise, positive outcomes aren't guaranteed, and complications occur. Thanks to modern maternity care in hospitals, with advances in technology, when those complications do happen, there is still a great likelihood of a positive outcome. But what if the medical care didn't exist around every corner? Within 2 miles of us at this moment, there are 3 large hospitals, one of which offers some of the most advanced high-risk maternal care and a neonatal intensive care unit that provides care for some of the tiniest human life we have ever seen. What happens when that medical care isn't there? When a more normal delivery does not proceed as expected, such as when delivery stalls and the baby becomes stuck in the birth canal, an emergency C-section can save the lives of both mother and baby, most often with minimal lasting effects. For women in labor that have limited access to basic medical care, especially hospital-based maternity care, that's when complications arise and the implications are tragic. There are areas in Africa, as well as around the world, where the limited access to health care is taking a dramatic toll on childbearing women. In the same situation that a mother here may have a C-section to facilitate delivery of a baby who has become stuck, women without access to health care may experience prolonged labor, sometimes lasting as long as 5 to 7 days. Aside from the tragic loss of their baby, these mothers are facing a far more serious and debilitating condition called obstetric fistulas. An obstetric fistula is a hole in the birth canal caused by the prolonged and obstructed labor without prompt medical intervention. When a fistula develops, the woman can experience a number of tragic and debilitating consequences. Most significantly, a woman with obstetric fistula suffers from chronic incontinence. The leakage of stool or urine through the hole in the birth canal prevents a woman from having the same voluntary control over elimination that would otherwise be possible. Left untreated, these fistulas can lead to additional medical problems, such as skin breakdown, kidney disease, and chronic infections. Perhaps almost as devastating is the emotional toll that the obstetric fistulas take on the women who suffer from them. To lose control over one's basic bodily functions can be both frustrating and embarrassing. The constant smell of urine can be humiliating, and these women are often not permitted access to buses are unable to find employment, and become ostracized by friends, family, and society. There are several villages composed primarily of these displaced women who were forced from their homes due to the horrible treatment that they encountered. What's worse is these women were already devastated and grieving the loss of their unborn child, and at the time when they could use the support of loved ones and those in the community, they are instead treated as though they did something to bring the condition upon themselves and as less than worthy human beings. So what can be done about this? The main goal of a number of leading health organizations is that every woman with obstetric fistula receive a life-restoring surgery and that all future cases be prevented. In order for that to happen, several things need to occur. People need to understand the causes, interventions, and resources required. Obstetric fistulas are treatable and preventable. There already exist several hospitals in a number of countries that provide fistula repair services. For the many tragic cases that already exist, the reconstructive fistula repair surgery can be provided at one of these hospitals. And for those women who are unable to reach them, practitioners are being trained to go out into these remote villages and perform the procedure there. If the women could have had access to a skilled attendant or emergency obstetric care in the case of complications, the incidence of obstetric fistula would greatly be diminished. However, that goal is an ambitious one and something to work towards. For now, there are several things that we can do to help prevent these fistulas from occurring. What the Women of Reformed Judaism are doing, in conjunction with UMCOR, the United Methodist Committee on Relief, is assembling these clean birthing kits to be used during childbirth in order to help prevent some of these contributing factors that result in the fistula formation. In honor of the Temple Society of Concord's 100th anniversary, we have set the bar high and hope to assemble 100 of these birthing kits. The kits actually contain, in a 1-gallon sealed plastic bag, there's a hotel-sized bar of soap that's 1 to 2 ounces, 1 pair of clean latex gloves, 1 square yard of plastic sheeting, 3 clean pieces of string, a single-use razor blade, and 2 flannel receiving blankets. The kit value is only $8. This is something that we can all get together and assemble fairly easily. To learn more, you can please join us on Sunday, this March 11th, as the WRJ hosts our monthly event. We'll be watching a film called A Walk to Beautiful that portrays the difficult lives that these women with obstetric fistula face. If you can offer any assistance, financial support, or donations of the kit items, you can please contact one of the members of the WRJ, specifically Ellen Roloff or myself, and we'll be happy to answer any more questions that you may have or to discuss ways that you can help. Thank you for your time, and Shabbat Shalom.